Hello everyone, here we are for another SCAD Espresso episode. Today we have a super international speaker, good friend of mine, Andrea Ricci. Welcome, Andrea.
Ciao Federico, ciao everybody. Thank you for the invitation.
So thanks to you for accepting this invitation, for double acceptance, because you will be our speaker in Newport Beach in September 2022. So we will have the opportunity to enjoy your material, your beautiful cases, and your protocols, your step-by-step, your vision in restorative prosto and interdisciplinary dentistry. So, guys, just to introduce you, Andrea, probably you know him, but he's everywhere in between Europe and US, but not only. Andrea is graduated in Italy and had a postgrad in prosto in USC in Los Angeles, California. And he's an international speaker. He is involved in many academies. He is an active member in a European Academy of Esthetic Dentistry. He's an active member or associate member, I guess, on American Academy of Restorative Dentistry. He is also part in the International Federation of Esthetic Dentistry. You are leading this sort of interview like we are doing now. You are the master ceremony of these episodes.
Yes.
And and Andrea, personally, I want to say that he's one of my best friends. He's the godfather of my third son, and he's a special person for me. We shared a lot of experiences in the last 20 years around the world. We met each other more abroad than in Italy. Yes. We spent more time in other countries than in Italy. And Andrea is not only an excellent professional, but is a really enlightened mind. So he's a person that has vision, has passion, has that hidden characteristic in understanding something that is not only visible, but is a little bit deeper. So it's absolutely a real pleasure for me to have you here, Andrea, and to have the opportunity to ask you something and to have some sharing, to listen from your point of view, where is now dentistry and where is going in the next future. Okay.
Wow, Fede, with this introduction, I hope I will not disappoint the attendees.
Absolutely. You will tell something very pertinent, and I'm really looking forward to watch your material in Newport Beach. It will be the second time.
Yes, actually, I'm very happy to join again the SCAD. The last time it was a different kind of meeting because we had this match organized by Rade and yourself regarding the Brazil versus Italy. It has been an amazing experience, great, talented panel speakers, and the lectures were very nice. The venue was very nice. The attendees were very interesting. So I look forward, and my expectations are very high actually for Newport Beach.
Come on, yes, we will do our best. That time we were in Chicago, this time we are in California. But yeah, the environment, the connection, the human connection, the SCAD family is always very close, very, very participating in not only on dentistry, but like in this type of human connections, this type of interaction. So you will give us a very huge contribution, I'm sure.
Thank you, Philip.
So, starting with the interview, I just wrote a couple of notes about the questions I would like to ask you. I'm going to ask you. So, first question: what are the new trends in aesthetic and digital dentistry for you?
It is an interesting question because probably due to many reasons, due to the more complicated management of our offices due to the pandemic, due to the increasing costs running offices, and also increasing the demands of the patients, we are looking to simplified protocols. So we would like to probably simplify the approach, the clinical approach, maintaining what we have gained in our experience. And I think that the trend will go towards, for sure, metal-free restorations, for sure, digital CAD/CAM restorations, and so then probably monolithic restorations, where the materials and the technology is increasing the level so high. So we see the new zirconia materials, we see the new composite materials. We have a broad option of material selection that will actually, I think, keeping the experience of previous materials, simplifying the clinical protocols in the future. So that is for sure something that will simplify. And I think also the new trend is to put what is still a little bit disrupted, because digital dentistry, on my opinion, so far is a little bit disrupted. So you buy the 3D printers and you have one device. Then you buy the intraoral scanner and you have one other device. But then in order to have an ideal, simple, and predictable protocol, we are not there yet. This is my personal opinion. So face scanners, for example, are for sure the future, because facially generated treatment plan, which is one of my favorite topics, which is actually the topic that I will share in September, there are still limitations, but it's for sure the trend in the future, because to make nice teeth, it's not good enough anymore. So we have to analyze the whole face, and we have to see a little bit broader than nice translucencies, nice mamelon effects, and so on. So the shape and the position of the teeth, the arrangement is going to be a key. So I think that the trend in the future is, to summarize, monolithic materials, simplifying protocols, and finding continuity in the digital workflows.
Just a question. Are you still doing layered?
Yes.
Are you still doing layered ceramic?
Yes,
And
I
more
do
or less,
layers.
which percentage?
Well, it's for sure a smaller percentage than monolithic. It depends on the extension of the case. So, for example, full arch restorations, I tend to be and stay monolithic if I can stay on lithium disilicate. If I have to go on zirconia, I prefer to layer on the buccal. And if I have partial restorations, for example, one central or one fixed partial denture, that I still like to do in order to preserve a natural enamel, something I know that on the podium sometimes is not well received and a lot, because, you know, I know this is something a little bit provocative, but I see a lot of overtreatments on the congresses. And so going back to the cases, when I have single restorations or partial restorations, I think that staying with monolithic is a little bit limited. So I have to go on layer restorations. And I think that is basically it. I mean, the criteria selection is that to mimic natural dentition, I think we have to go on layer. Whenever I don't have to copy nature, I rather prefer to stay monolithic.
Very
and also,
clear.
again, lithium disilicate rather than zirconia plays a difference. I personally don't like monolithic zirconia, not even the translucent one, not even the new ones.
In anterior or both in posteriors?
No, I mean, also in posteriors, I don't like them a lot. I mean, patients could be happy, but to me, with monolithic lithium disilicate, I rarely, if I pay attention to the requirements, I rarely have problems. So if I don't have, for example, fixed partial denture for single units, I like actually I have one of yours, monolithic restoration on my molar, and I think that's quite predictable.
Not mine, because maybe the audience cannot understand. Not mine because I give him because I was the dentist. So
Yes.
they confirm it.
So that is the option of choice. And different is when we have fixed partial dentures, where I prefer to use zirconia. And one note, which is very nice, I don't know if this answers the topic, but it's we touched material selection. I still do metal ceramics when I have extensive full arch rehabilitations on natural teeth, because I had I had interesting failures with zirconia when the connectors are not are not proper, and on natural teeth, full arch, sometimes I had
You
problems.
prefer PFM.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Thanks.
Thank you.
So, second question: what are the most important aspects about color in your practice? Because you are a prosto guy, and so for sure you do a lot of rehabs, but maybe, okay, what is your vision, your attention in color, shape, in rehabs, in single restoration, single unit restoration? So
Yeah, it's
yes.
basically it's the same as before. Color nowadays is critical, especially because patients arrive in the office with a lot of informations compared to the past, because they can see on social networks, they can get informations on the internet and the social networks again. So patients are more and more interested in aesthetics. Now, when it comes to full arch restorations, it's more difficult that the patient is able to distinguish layer versus monolithic if they are properly done, which is very important, because I mean, you can layer badly restorations and make it visible, and you can make a very nice monolithic restoration that is invisible. So how you do things and what is the level of the technician is very, very important. So when I have extensive restorations, I try to educate the patient that color is important, of course, but it's not that critical. While when it comes to single restorations, color becomes, of course, after shape and after value, color still is very, very important, because myself is not happy if I can distinguish the restoration in the mouth of the patient. So color is very, very important. And if I educate the patient to this, they will be able to evaluate your work and to distinguish what has been done.
And what about, in example, if you have to do the most challenging restoration, the single central incisor, so for sure you have to replicate everything. But in example, when you do rehabs, what is you are very accurate in color, or maybe you give an indication to the technician and then
I first of all, I partner with very good and talented technicians that I think still, when I do digital dentistry, is very, very important. And for sure, I'm less picky. What I like on restorations, and what I would like to underline with patients and educate the patient on, is the translucency. So not to have like very opaque and bright restorations that sometimes patient requires, but I try to educate them, sharing photos and pictures of a nice translucent restoration rather than like a sink type of porcelain.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in that case, when you do a rehab, just to try to understand what is your message, you just give an indication, a main indication, you focus on some details, and then you transfer this information
to the technician.
Just to ask you, I think that the color is less critical when you do a rehabs compared when you do a single central, correct?
For sure. Yes, for sure. I mean, again, once I do a nice translucent and bright color on a rehab, patient is always happy.
Okay.
And on the other hand, when I have a single restoration, sometimes I do 2 or 3 or 4 color appointments, color test appointments. You know.
And when you do a single central, in example, how do you transfer to the lab? Do you like to use a spectrophotometer? Just some notes, just some indications, some pictures, some specific pictures?
Yeah, what I do is, for sure, I do the whole photographic protocol from different angles with different type of lighting. And then also I shoot with JPEG and also NEF, like in RAW. And afterwards, I also take the spectrophotometer, and I take also the photo with polarized filters.
Absolutely.
I try to give as many informations to
Yeah.
the technician as possible. Yet I have to admit that for single restoration, I want the technician in the office. I ask the technician
Yeah.
to visit the
That's
office because that is the best. It is way less stressful to me. It is very well received by the patient because he sees or she sees the backstage of what is required and what we are doing for her, because they see the partnership with the technician, the effort, the technician that comes from Torino, from L'Aquila, or from wherever he comes, and patient feels the work, the effort that we are putting in the
absolutely.
case.
Because many times it's taken for granted from the patients that, okay, we do a tooth, but a tooth is not a tooth. There is a universe inside, talking about texture, translucencies, color, value, chroma, talking about shape, primary
Exactly.
anatomy, secondary anatomy. And so, in somehow, to do a single central or lateral is not so easy, and also to share this with the patient is interesting because I think personally that the patient can put a value in our job when we strive for excellence, when we want to have something that is not basic but is a good
Yeah,
treatment. Yeah.
and it's very important to make the patient perceive this. I mean that the
Yeah,
central is
I
the
think
most.
you are
It,
very good in NLP. You are very good on all these aspects. So maybe at the end of this interview, I will ask you something. But
yeah, just because I had so many problems that I had to figure out how to solve them, and I had
everyone,
to gather
everyone.
information from wherever I could.
No, but for all of us, for all clinicians, for all the people that are working every day with people, that means patients, that means team, that means collaborators like technicians, that are technicians or others. Yeah, it's
You
normal to
know,
have
I
some.
always say, people that don't have failures and don't have problems, either they are not working on patients or they're liars. So it's only the
Yeah,
two
yeah,
options.
absolutely. It's only two categories. Usually
Yes,
I say one, those dentists that are not working. But
yes.
yes, you are giving me this reflection that there is also a second category that we can add to this. Yes, definitely. So the third question for you. What is a message you will stress and describe into details at the SCAD meeting in Newport Beach next September?
Yeah, it's what I would like to share is, as I mentioned, you know that I am passionate with digital smile design and with the analyze the protocol that analyze the face, and of course I meet the facially generated treatment plan philosophy. And I think that there is still a lot to do in order to uh, bringing the 2D evaluation in the 3D world, but I think we are on the right path. I'm still studying a lot face scanners, and what I would like to share in Newport Beach is uh, my experience with this approach, what were the problems that I faced, and how I'm trying to solve them, and how I solved some of them. And I would like to share the protocol that I follow from A to Z, which is Z is the beginning of the treatment plan, because I will mainly speak about treatment planning, facial analyze and so on. So I think that I will start from the DSD concept, but presenting in a more broad approach. And I will share my experience with the face scanners, and also my way of designing the case.
So mainly, I learned from you and Christian Coachman that is the Digital Smile Design. So you were my instructor, my mentor, and I'm using this tool, this approach in all my cases, rehab cases, aesthetic rehabilitations. So, and we started from 2D. What is your approach now? Just tell you something, just that you tell something to us that you will show in Newport Beach and SCAD. Are you still working a lot in 2D? Are you doing something in 3D? Are you moved totally in 3D planning?
Well, it depends on the steps on the phase of the treatment. For example, when I evaluate, for example, a besbake appointment where I do the test, the test of the color and the morphology, I always take photos. I always go back to the analysis of the face to see if the occlusal plane, the midline, the incisor length is proper. And I always use a 2D evaluation. That is basically a must, even when I deliver provisionals. When it comes to diagnosis and treatment planning, I mean, the initial step, I mainly now utilize 3D technology. So I do photos, I do face scans, and I start designing the case on the CAD software myself. So now I am investing a lot of time because I think that the operative dentist or the restorative dentist should be the one that designs the case because of many reasons, because knows the patient, because knows the limitations and the desires of the patient, and have the idea, the broad idea of the case. And so he can design the sequence, he can design the steps, can share with the patient and work on the patient's perception, as we said before, the treatment plan. And digital technology now is very working on simplification. So now, I mean, to me, to do a full mouth wax up takes forever. I did it in the program when I was at USC, but I was used to spend a lot of hours in the lab. Nowadays, I can do a full arch wax up in basically 1 hour. And if I don't like something, I can just change the whole occlusal plane and arrangement of the teeth in another hour. So this is an invaluable tool. Of course, it requires a learning process, but I think that this gives you the project of the case in your hands, so you have control of what you are planning to do.
Great, very interesting, because this means a very next step compared we had in the last years. So something.
Yeah,
that,
I mean, in the past, we have to admit, majority of clinicians were making impressions, sending the impressions to the lab to be poured in plaster, and then asking for a wax up. So basically, the case design was delivered, the responsibility was given to the technician. But I mean, many technicians could provide amazing plans. The point is, it's not the responsibility of the technician to do that. For example, you know, how long to make the teeth, or how to change the occlusal plane, the function. I mean, one thing is to make a nice functional wax up on the articulator. Another thing is to make it fit in the face. Again, move forward, move lateral, you know, all these things. And I think that this is the responsibility of the clinician.
Absolutely. Great.
And I'm sorry, I have to add one thing, especially in ortho treatments, because also the orthodontist should do himself the setup. And many orthodontists don't do the setup. They just either nowadays, even with the Invisalign, they send impression and they get the treatment plan back done by them. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it if you know the principles, so you can evaluate what is given to you. So you have to have the knowledge in order to commit others
to understand, to evaluate.
Exactly. So otherwise, you just exactly. So you have to have the knowledge to evaluate what has been proposed, and the same is with technicians. And the orthodontic setup should be done by the clinician.
Great. So the last question. So we don't want to take your time too much. What is your vision for the future in dentistry? What is your personal vision?
Let me think. Well, I think that, as I said, patients are every year more competent or apparently competent, and we know that a lot of information sometimes is not good because it can create confusion. Now, to get the information on internet, it's quite time consuming, and it is very difficult to distinguish the good information to the bad information. We can evaluate this with the media, with the news, with everything. Okay, so it's not, the access to information is not always helpful for us as clinicians, because sometimes we have to change the perception of the patients. So one thing is to educate the patient. We have to work on that way more than before. You know, I remember my father 40 years ago, he could say anything. The patient had no ideas. I mean, he was just saying, we have to do this. This is the cost, and the patient would go for it if he could afford. Nowadays, you have to basically struggle a lot more on managing the information that they already have. So that is one factor. And this goes to communication. I think that there are now many opportunities to learn how to practice, to place implants, to do nice composites. There are many meetings like SCAD where they work and they provide very high level education. So now to get technical information is possible, and it's easy to access. What I think we are missing is a little bit working on the soft skills rather than the hard skills. The hard skills are the technical skills, the one that we can measure. The soft skills are the skills that many people like maybe you, me, my father, many experience. Unfortunately, we have already 25 years of experience, both of us, have developed by trial and error. You know, we were discussing with patients, and we understood what works and what doesn't work. But nowadays, we can we have access to other features and other knowledge, and I think that we can learn how to communicate better, how to understand patients better, and I think the competition that we are facing among colleagues requires to be different. We have to think different, and I think that only being a good dentist is not enough. We have to be also we have to make the patient comfortable. We have to make the patient understood, and we have to understand the patient, which is first step.
Fantastic, yeah. This is a universe. We can, me and you especially, we can stay 2 hours.
Yes.
Talk about these aspects, because, yeah, what I would like always to underline that we are not treating teeth. We are treating people. We are treating teeth in the mouth of someone, of a human being. And so we have to understand that their perception is not what maybe we think is the reality.
Yes.
And nowadays, with the communication that is going so fast with the social media, with the advertisement. In Italy, an example, some years ago when I started to be a practitioner, was totally forbidden to have any type of advertisement.
Yeah.
And nowadays, you can see advertisement for dental clinics, like you can see for a fast food or for a shop or whatever. So I think that this is absolutely an amazing topic that I will invite to cover you in another SCAD Espresso.
I will be happy to join.
No, because I think that apart the color side, the appearance, there are so many aspects that we don't want for sure to cover in 20 minutes. But we can have a nice sharing about this, and you are an expert also on that type of topics. We also shared another path that was not in dental field, but with a very important mental coach. So you are one of the few Italian trainers of this company, of Roberto Re. Roberto is like, I don't know, Anthony Robbins in US or in the world. He's in Italy. He was also a collaborator of Anthony Robbins, Roberto. And so Andrea is one of the trainers in this company that is helping people to evolve in a sort of way, in this way. I had the pleasure to be a student there. I also, for some events, I was an assistant as well. And so these are an important part, an important side of the whole.
Yeah, it's the other side of the coin. I mean, protocols, color, treatments, it's the key. The only thing is that we have to be able to apply those protocols, and we have to be able to convince in an ethical way. I mean,
exactly, in an ethical way. Because so a good communication is just a tool. It's not something that is good or bad. It's the tool.
Exactly.
And you can use that tool in an ethical way or in a bad way.
Exactly.
So this is an important reflection.
Exactly. And also pushing the concept of the color is great. But as I said, preserving natural dentition and to be able to apply those well-designed protocols to the right patient in the right moment, in the right way. That is the key, I think.
Okay, so deal. Okay,
deal done.
Deal done. Yeah, we will have maybe another appointment with you talking about these not clinical but important aspects about dentistry. To be a good dentist, to be a good, I mean, therapeutical guy that can interact with the patient. Okay.
Exactly.
So Andrea, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot from my part as president, SCAD president, from the rest of the board, SCAD board. And I'm really happy to have the opportunity to have you physically back in SCAD Congress, and I'm looking forward to see your material in Newport Beach, definitely.
Thank you very much. Fede, extend my gratitude to the whole SCAD team, and I look forward to see you all in Newport Beach.
Thanks a lot. Ciao, ciao. See you.
Ciao, ciao. Thank you, Fede. Ciao, ciao. Ciao, everybody.